Welcome back. Today we explore real-life instances when animals exhibited bizarre, unexplained, or extreme behavior that puzzled the scientific community, sparked public fear or fascination, and led to urgent research or rethinking of scientific paradigms. Just relax and let's start. And don't forget to subscribe. The dancing deer of India. In 2023, a bizarre phenomenon captured global attention when herds of deer in India's forests were observed spinning in circles for hours, often until they collapsed from exhaustion. The spectacle, both fascinating and alarming, sparked immediate concern among wildlife experts and local communities. Initially, suspicions pointed toward mass poisoning or an infectious disease, given the sudden and synchronized behavior. However, as investigations deepened, a more nuanced explanation emerged: a rare neurological disorder likely triggered by environmental toxins. Scientists quickly ruled out common pathogens or viral infections, as the deer showed no typical signs of illness like fever or physical lesions. Instead, the circling behavior pointed to neurological damage, specifically affecting the brain's basal ganglia, which controls motor functions. Similar symptoms have been documented in livestock exposed to heavy metals or industrial chemicals, leading researchers to focus on environmental contamination. Nearby factories, which had long been suspected of polluting the region, became a prime suspect. Preliminary tests revealed elevated levels of lead and cadmium in soil and water samples, both known to cause neurotoxicity in animals. The outbreak prompted swift action. Authorities temporarily shut down several factories, and emergency environmental studies were launched to assess the extent of contamination. Interestingly, this wasn't the first time such behavior had been noted in wildlife. Historical records show sporadic cases of circling disease in deer, often linked to toxins or nutritional deficiencies. In this instance, the scale was unprecedented, suggesting a concentrated source of pollution. By late 2023, the spinning behavior began to decline. The combination of factory closures, reduced toxin exposure, and natural detoxification processes in the deer likely contributed to the improvement. While the exact cause may never be pinpointed with absolute certainty, the incident underscored the fragile relationship between industrial activity and wildlife health. It also served as a stark reminder of how environmental neglect can manifest in unexpected, devastating ways. The deer eventually returned to normal behavior, but the episode left a lasting impact on conservation policies in the region. The suicidal whales of New Zealand. Mass strandings of whales along New Zealand's beaches have long baffled scientists and distressed local communities. These tragic events, sometimes involving hundreds of whales at once, see entire pods helplessly beaching themselves, often leading to suffocation or fatal organ collapse under their own weight. Despite decades of research, no single consistent explanation has emerged, leaving marine biologists and conservationists grappling with a complex ecological mystery. One leading theory points to underwater sonar interference, particularly from military exercises or seismic surveys. Loud, unnatural noises can disrupt whales' echolocation, disorienting them and driving them toward shallow waters. Another hypothesis involves geomagnetic disruptions. New Zealand's coastline sits near magnetic anomalies, and whales, which navigate using Earth's magnetic fields, may become confused by shifts in these invisible pathways. Some researchers also suspect extreme weather events, such as solar storms, could temporarily distort magnetic cues. Additionally, sick or injured individuals might inadvertently lead their pods ashore, as whales are deeply social and follow one another even into danger. The emotional and cultural impact is profound, particularly for New Zealand's indigenous Maori communities, for whom whales hold deep spiritual significance. Volunteers and scientists often work tirelessly to refloat stranded whales, but success rates are low, and the sight of hundreds of dying whales triggers widespread grief and urgency for solutions. Despite extensive studies, strandings continue sporadically, with no clear end in sight. However, increased monitoring and rapid response teams have improved rescue efforts. In some cases, early detection allows for the redirection of pods before mass beaching occurs. Advances in sonar regulation and marine traffic management have also reduced human-induced risks, though natural causes remain unpredictable. While science has yet to fully unravel the mystery, each stranding provides new data, fueling hope for future breakthroughs. For now, New Zealand remains both a hotspot for whale strandings and a global leader in the desperate, determined effort to understand and prevent them. The phenomenon persists, but so does humanity's resolve to save these majestic creatures from their own tragic, unexplained impulses. Birds falling from the sky. On New Year's Eve 2011, the small town of Beebe, Arkansas, became the center of an eerie and unsettling phenomenon when thousands of red-winged blackbirds rained down from the sky, littering rooftops, roads, and fields with lifeless bodies. The event sparked immediate panic, with theories ranging from bioterrorism and secret government experiments to apocalyptic prophecies. Social media amplified the mystery, turning it into a global sensation overnight. Scientists quickly stepped in to investigate, and the leading explanation pointed to fireworks as the primary culprit. The birds, roosting in large, tightly packed flocks, were startled by the loud explosions at midnight. Disoriented and unable to navigate in the dark, they likely collided with buildings, trees, and even each other, sustaining fatal injuries. Necropsies confirmed blunt force trauma as the cause of death, with no signs of poisoning or disease. However, skeptics questioned why this hadn't happened before. After all, fireworks were a yearly tradition. Some experts suggested that unusually low cloud cover or the birds' roosting proximity to the town may have amplified the effects. Adding to the intrigue, similar mass bird die-offs were reported around the same time in other parts of the world, including Sweden and Louisiana, though not all were linked to fireworks. Conspiracy theories flourished, with some claiming covert military tests or environmental poisoning, yet no evidence supported these ideas. The event never repeated in Beebe, likely because officials discouraged large fireworks displays near known roosting areas in subsequent years. Still, the mystery lingers in public memory, partly because science couldn't fully explain why this particular incident was so extreme. The bizarre spectacle remains a cautionary tale about how human activity, even something as celebratory as fireworks, can have unintended consequences for wildlife. While the immediate panic faded, the image of thousands of birds falling from the sky on New Year's Eve endures as one of nature's most unsettling oddities. The Cow Compass Incident. In 2008, a team of researchers analyzing satellite images stumbled upon a bizarre and unexpected discovery. Cows grazing in fields across the world were consistently aligning their bodies along Earth's north-south magnetic axis. This strange behavior, observed in herds from Germany to South Africa to the Americas, sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Until then, magnetoreception, the ability to sense magnetic fields, was well documented in birds, sea turtles, and even some insects, but never in large mammals like cattle. The findings suggested that cows and possibly other mammals possessed an innate, previously undetected compass. Scientists were initially skeptical. Could this really be a magnetic phenomenon? Or was it just a coincidence influenced by wind, sunlight, or terrain? Further studies ruled out environmental factors, confirming that the alignment persisted regardless of weather or landscape. Even more puzzling, the cows avoided east-west positioning, strongly implying an active response to geomagnetic cues. The discovery upended assumptions about mammalian biology, raising urgent questions. How were these animals detecting magnetic fields? Was it linked to iron in their cells, specialized proteins, or some unknown sensory mechanism. The scientific scramble that followed led to new research into magnetoreception in mammals. Deer, foxes, and even dogs were later found to exhibit similar magnetic alignment behaviors. Yet, despite over a decade of study, the exact biological mechanism remains elusive. Some theories suggest cryptochromes, light-sensitive proteins in the eyes, might play a role, as they do in migratory birds. Others propose magnetite, a magnetic mineral found in certain bacteria and animals, could be embedded in nerve cells. The mystery has not been fully solved, but the cow compass incident fundamentally changed how scientists view animal navigation. What began as an oddity in satellite images opened an entirely new field of inquiry into hidden sensory abilities in mammals. While cows continue to graze along magnetic lines, oblivious to the scientific stir they caused, researchers are still untangling the secrets behind this silent, invisible guidance system, one of nature's most intriguing unsolved puzzles. The hyper-aggressive dolphins of Taiji. In 2015, the normally intelligent and social dolphins of Taiji, Japan, a town infamous for its annual dolphin drives, began exhibiting shockingly aggressive behavior that baffled scientists and horrified onlookers. These dolphins, some captured for marine parks and others confined in coastal pens, started attacking each other with uncharacteristic violence, ramming their heads into tank walls, and even turning on their human handlers. This sudden shift in behavior was so extreme that marine biologists scrambled to understand what could drive such highly social creatures to such erratic and dangerous actions. Several theories emerged to explain the phenomenon. One leading hypothesis pointed to pollution-induced brain damage, as heavy metals like mercury, known to accumulate in marine life, can cause neurological dysfunction, including aggression and disorientation. Another possibility was acoustic trauma from underwater sonar or boat noise, which can disrupt dolphins' sophisticated echolocation and communication, leading to stress and violent outbursts. However, the most compelling explanation centered on psychological trauma from captivity itself. Dolphins, with their complex social structures and need for vast oceanic spaces, suffer immensely in confinement. Isolation, forced interactions with humans, and the absence of natural hunting and social behaviors can trigger severe stress, leading to self-harm and aggression, akin to psychosis in captive terrestrial animals like elephants and big cats. The Taiji incident ignited a global outcry, amplifying debates about dolphin captivity and the ethics of marine parks. Footage of the distressed dolphins circulated widely, fueling public pressure on facilities that held marine mammals in captivity. While Japan's controversial dolphin hunts continued, the event did lead to stricter welfare assessments in some marine parks and increased scrutiny of captivity conditions worldwide. Though the aggressive behavior in Taiji's dolphins eventually subsided, either due to adaptation, removal of the most affected individuals, or changes in handling practices, the episode left a lasting mark on marine science. It underscored the profound psychological needs of dolphins and the ethical dilemmas of keeping such intelligent, wide-ranging creatures in captivity. Today, the event remains a cautionary tale about the unseen consequences of human interference in the lives of wild animals. Chernobyl Wolves. The wolves of Chernobyl have become one of modern science's most fascinating enigmas. Decades after the 1986 nuclear disaster forced humans to abandon the area, the 10 square mile exclusion zone has transformed into an unexpected wildlife haven, with gray wolves as its apex predators. Surprisingly, these wolves aren't just surviving in the radioactive environment, they're thriving, with population densities up to 7 times higher than in uncontaminated regions. This resilience has left scientists questioning everything they thought they knew about the long-term effects of radiation on mammals. Initial assumptions suggested that chronic radiation exposure would lead to genetic mutations, cancer, and reduced lifespans in wildlife. Yet Chernobyl's wolves show no obvious signs of radiation-induced sickness. Some researchers believe they've developed biological adaptations, possibly rapid DNA repair mechanisms or protective antioxidant defenses that mitigate radiation damage. Genetic studies have identified unique mutations in the wolves' genomes, but whether these are harmful, neutral, or beneficial remains unclear. Intriguingly, their immune systems appear unusually robust, sparking speculation that low-dose radiation might have inadvertently trained their bodies to resist cellular damage more effectively. The phenomenon has opened new avenues in radiobiology. Scientists are now studying whether these wolves could hold clues for human radiation resistance, particularly for cancer treatments or space travel, where cosmic radiation poses a major risk. Other research explores how mutations accumulate across generations. Do offspring inherit resilience, or is each wolf's survival a roll of the genetic dice? The Chernobyl wolves challenge the traditional view of radiation zones as lifeless wastelands. Instead, they reveal nature's remarkable capacity to adapt to even the most extreme environments. While the full implications of their radiation tolerance are still being unraveled, one thing is clear. These wolves have rewritten the rules of survival, turning a symbol of human catastrophe into a living laboratory for evolutionary science. The story of Chernobyl's wolves isn't over. It's evolving, much like the animals themselves. The bees that vanished. In the mid-2000s, an unsettling phenomenon began unfolding across the globe. Honeybees were vanishing en masse. Beekeepers would open their hives to find them eerily empty, with only a handful of surviving bees and untouched honey stores left behind. This mysterious disappearance, dubbed colony collapse disorder, CCD, saw millions of bees abandon their hives without a trace, leaving scientists scrambling for answers and farmers fearing for the future of crops dependent on pollination. The panic was justified. Bees pollinate roughly 1/3 of the world's food supply, and their sudden decline threatened everything from almonds to apples. Initial theories ranged widely. Some pointed to pesticides, particularly a class of chemicals called neonicotinoids, which were found to disrupt bees' nervous systems, impairing their navigation and memory. Others suspected viruses or parasites, like the Varroa destructor mite, which weakens bees by feeding on their bodily fluids and spreading pathogens. Climate change also entered the debate, as shifting weather patterns altered flowering seasons, leaving bees without food at critical times. The scientific community was divided, but gradually, a consensus emerged. CCD wasn't caused by a single factor, but by a toxic cocktail of stressors. Neonicotinoids, while not immediately lethal, made bees more vulnerable to diseases and parasites, while habitat loss and malnutrition further compounded the crisis. The revelation led to significant policy changes. The European Union banned several neonicotinoids in 2018, and farmers began adopting bee-friendly practices, such as planting wildflower buffers and reducing pesticide use. Researchers also developed more resilient bee breeds and improved hive management techniques. While CCD incidents have declined since their peak, the crisis isn't entirely over. Bees still face threats from climate change, habitat destruction, and new agrochemicals. However, the ordeal transformed our understanding of ecosystem fragility and the interconnectedness of human and insect health. The vanishing bees served as a stark warning, one that spurred science, policy, and public awareness into action, ensuring that the hum of these vital pollinators continues to echo through our orchards and fields. Zombie ants. In the dense rainforests of Thailand and Brazil, a macabre spectacle unfolds daily. Ants marching to their deaths under the control of a parasitic fungus called Ophiocordyceps unilateralis. This insidious organism invades an ant's body, hijacks its nervous system and compels it to abandon its colony, climb to a precise height on a plant, and clamp its jaws onto a leaf or twig in a death grip. The fungus then consumes the ant from within before erupting as a spore-releasing stalk from its victim's head, raining down spores to infect new hosts. This chilling phenomenon, often called the zombie ant effect, stunned scientists by demonstrating a parasite capable of manipulating complex animal behavior with surgical precision. The discovery upended assumptions about how parasites interact with hosts. Unlike typical infections that simply weaken or kill, Ophiocordyceps rewires the ant's brain without destroying it, at least initially. Research revealed the fungus secretes bioactive compounds that alter neurotransmitter activity, effectively turning the ant into a puppet. Advanced imaging showed fungal cells wrapping around ant muscles and even infiltrating the brain, though curiously, they avoid critical neural regions until the final stages. This delicate balance suggests the fungus evolved to keep its host functional just long enough to reach the ideal spore dispersal spot. The implications stretch far beyond entomology. Neuroscientists now study Ophiocordyceps to understand how behavior can be chemically manipulated, with potential insights into neurological disorders or even targeted therapies. Meanwhile, bioengineers explore whether fungal compounds could inspire new antimicrobial drugs. The phenomenon also raises eerie questions about free will in simpler organisms and whether similar mechanisms could exist in more complex animals. While the zombie ant saga remains unresolved in its full complexity, it has already reshaped biology's understanding of parasitism, neural control, and coevolution. The fungus's gruesome strategy, refined over millions of years, stands as one of nature's most sophisticated and terrifying examples of manipulation. As researchers continue to decode its secrets, each discovery blurs the line between independent organism and puppet, reminding us of the hidden power of microbial masters. The goat paralysis panic. In 2006, a remote Turkish village became the center of an unsettling mystery when local herders reported their goats inexplicably hurling themselves off cliffs. The incidents weren't isolated. Entire herds would suddenly scramble toward precipices, tumbling to their deaths in what witnesses described as a wave of panic. The phenomenon left scientists scratching their heads. Was it a case of mass animal hysteria, an environmental toxin, or something more bizarre? Initial theories ran wild. Some villagers suspected poisoning, perhaps from a plant or contaminated water, but autopsies revealed no toxins in the goats' systems. Others wondered if seismic activity or infrasound, low-frequency vibrations inaudible to humans, could have triggered a primal flight response. Goats, with their keen sensitivity to environmental changes, might have reacted to subtle geological shifts. However, no earthquakes were recorded during the events. The most plausible explanation combined behavioral and environmental factors. The region's goat population had surged, leading to overcrowding on precarious mountain trails. When one goat spooked, possibly due to a predator, loud noise, or even a misstep, its panic could have rippled through the herd in a domino effect. In low visibility conditions like fog, which was common in the area, the animals might have misjudged the terrain until it was too late. This startle and follow instinct is well documented in herd animals, but the scale of these incidents was unprecedented. The economic toll was devastating. For a community reliant on livestock, the loss of hundreds of goats meant financial ruin, and the media frenzy that followed only deepened the distress. Though the events eventually subsided, possibly due to herders keeping goats farther from cliffs, no definitive cause was ever proven. The goat paralysis panic remains a cautionary tale about the fragile balance between animals and their environment. It underscores how easily instinct, overcrowding, and terrain can collide with tragic consequences, and how even in the modern age, nature can serve up mysteries that defy easy explanation. The frogs with extra legs. In the 1990s, a disturbing trend emerged across ponds and wetlands in Minnesota and other parts of North America. School children and biologists began discovering frogs with grotesque deformities, including extra legs, missing limbs, or even eyes growing in the wrong places. These weren't isolated cases. Mutation rates were alarmingly high, sometimes affecting over half the frog populations in certain areas. The phenomenon sent shockwaves through the scientific community, raising urgent questions about environmental health and the hidden consequences of human activity. Researchers initially suspected chemical pollution, particularly pesticides and fertilizers from nearby farms. Agricultural runoff, rich in nitrates and phosphates, was known to disrupt aquatic ecosystems, but the link to such extreme physical deformities wasn't immediately clear. The breakthrough came when scientists identified a tiny culprit, parasitic flatworms called Riberoia ondatrae. These worms burrow into developing tadpoles, forming cysts around limb buds and interfering with normal growth, leading to extra or malformed legs. While the parasite wasn't new, its sudden surge in frog populations pointed to a deeper ecological imbalance. Further studies revealed that agricultural runoff was indirectly fueling the crisis. Excess nutrients from fertilizers caused algal blooms, which in turn boosted populations of snails, the parasite's intermediate hosts. With more snails came more flatworms, and with more flatworms came more deformed frogs. The frogs' weakened immune systems, possibly compounded by chemical exposure, made them even more vulnerable. The discovery had grim implications beyond amphibians. If frogs, often considered environmental canaries in the coal mine, were suffering such drastic effects, what did that mean for other wildlife, or even humans relying on the same water sources? The crisis spurred tighter regulations on agricultural runoff and renewed focus on wetland conservation. Over time, as farming practices improved, reports of deformed frogs declined, though they haven't disappeared entirely. The case of the multi-legged frogs remains a stark reminder of how interconnected ecosystems are and how easily human actions can cascade into unintended consequences. It also highlighted the resilience of nature. In cleaner wetlands, frog populations gradually recovered, proving that even the most alarming environmental damage can be reversed with care and attention. Dogs jumping off the Overtoun Bridge. The Overtoun Bridge in Scotland has earned a grim reputation as the site of one of the most perplexing animal mysteries of modern times. Since the 1950s, dozens of dogs, primarily long-nosed breeds like Labradors and Collies, have inexplicably leaped off the same section of the 50-foot-high bridge, often on calm, sunny days. The incidents, which frequently result in fatal injuries, have baffled veterinarians, animal behaviorists, and locals alike, spawning theories ranging from supernatural curses to paranormal activity. Skeptics initially dismissed the phenomenon as urban legend, but the pattern was too consistent to ignore. Dogs would suddenly break away from their owners, scramble onto the bridge's stone parapet, and jump without hesitation, as if compelled by an unseen force. Some surviving dogs even returned to the spot and leaped again. Local folklore suggested the bridge was haunted. Overtoun Estate has long been associated with tragic history, including a Victorian-era mother who threw her baby from the same spot. Yet science sought more tangible explanations. One leading theory involves scent trails from minks or other small mammals. The area beneath the bridge is rich with wildlife, and the musky odor of minks, an irresistible lure for hunting breeds, might overwhelm dog senses, driving them to jump in pursuit. Another hypothesis points to the bridge's unusual acoustics. The structure's design could amplify sounds from the rushing water below, disorienting dogs and triggering a panic response. Some researchers even speculate that the dogs misperceive the drop due to optical illusions created by the bridge's uniform stonework and surrounding foliage. Despite investigations, no single explanation has fully solved the mystery. The bridge's eerie reputation persists, drawing curious visitors and paranormal enthusiasts. In recent years, measures like raised barriers and warning signs have reduced incidents, though sporadic jumps still occur. The Overtoun Bridge phenomenon remains a haunting blend of folklore and science, a reminder that even in an age of advanced research, some animal behaviors defy easy explanation. Whether driven by scent, sound, or something more enigmatic, the dog's tragic leaps continue to unsettle and intrigue, leaving their true cause lingering in the misty air of Scotland's countryside. The night parrots that were supposed to be extinct. For over a century, Australia's night parrot was considered a ghost of the outback, a small, ground-dwelling bird that had vanished into the annals of extinction. Last definitively documented in 1912, the species became an ornithological legend, with sporadic unverified reports treated like sightings of the Tasmanian tiger. Then, in 2013, naturalist John Young produced irrefutable proof, photographs and video of a live night parrot in remote western Queensland. The scientific community reeled. How had this elusive bird evaded detection for so long, and what did its reappearance mean for other species presumed lost? The night parrot's rediscovery exposed glaring gaps in extinction science. Traditional monitoring methods, visual surveys, audio recordings, and camera traps had failed to detect a population surviving in the harsh, sparsely populated deserts of Australia. The parrot's cryptic behavior offered clues: strictly nocturnal, nearly flightless, and perfectly camouflaged in spinifex grass, it was a master of evasion. Its survival also hinted at a broader truth, that some species might persist in tiny, fragmented populations, undetected by conventional surveys. The find sparked a revolution in conservation tactics. Researchers began employing thermal drones, acoustic sensors tuned to the parrot's distinctive calls, and even sniffer dogs trained to detect its feathers. Genetic analysis of shed feathers revealed population diversity, while satellite mapping pinpointed critical habitats. Yet controversy followed. Fearing poaching or habitat disruption, scientists kept locations secret, sparking debates about transparency in conservation. Today, the night parrot remains one of the rarest birds on Earth, with perhaps fewer than 100 individuals surviving. Its comeback story is bittersweet, a reminder of nature's resilience, but also of how easily species slip through the cracks of human awareness. The parrot's tale has rewritten conservation playbooks, proving that even in an era of global biodiversity crisis, some lost species might still be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right combination of technology and tenacity to bring them back into the light. The Elephant Rebellion. For decades, India's elephants have been engaged in a quiet uprising. Across Assam, Odisha, and other states, herds, once known for their docility, began launching unprovoked attacks on villages, trampling homes, uprooting crops, and even killing people. These weren't isolated incidents of crop raiding, but calculated assaults, elephants targeting specific buildings, lingering near destruction sites, and displaying aggression disproportionate to typical human-wildlife conflict. The behavior baffled experts, forcing a radical reevaluation of elephant psychology and the long-term consequences of environmental trauma. Scientists initially attributed the violence to habitat fragmentation, as deforestation and expanding farmland severed ancient migratory routes. But the elephants' actions suggested something deeper than desperation. They showed signs of what humans would recognize as vendettas. Researchers documented cases where herds returned to destroy the same villages repeatedly, even when alternative food sources were available. This pointed to possible intergenerational trauma. Young elephants, raised in conflict zones, learning aggressive behaviors from traumatized matriarchs. Brain studies revealed elephants possess neural structures associated with complex emotions like grief and revenge, challenging the old view of them as simple, instinct-driven giants. The phenomenon forced a paradigm shift in conservation. Traditional solutions like electric fences or compensation for crop damage failed to address the root cause: elephants' psychological toll from decades of poaching, habitat loss, and human cruelty. New approaches emerged, including elephant corridors to reconnect fragmented habitats and community-based conservation programs that cast villagers as protectors rather than adversaries. The elephant rebellion serves as a grim mirror to humanity's ecological impact. These attacks aren't mindless violence, but the culmination of generations of suffering, a stark reminder that intelligent animals don't just adapt to environmental change, they remember it, and sometimes they retaliate. As India grapples with this complex conflict, the elephant's behavior poses an uncomfortable question. In the Anthropocene, can wildlife ever forgive what humans have taken from them? Their answer, written in trampled fields and shattered homes, suggests the stakes of coexistence are far higher than we imagined. Tornado worms. In 2021, a bizarre natural phenomenon in New Jersey had the internet buzzing: a swirling mass of earthworms, writhing in perfect unison like a miniature tornado. After heavy rains flooded a local park, thousands of worms emerged from the sodden ground and began spiraling in eerie, coordinated circles, their bodies forming intricate patterns that resembled living crop circles. Videos of the spectacle went viral, with social media users joking about alien mind control or secret worm rituals. But for scientists, the behavior posed a genuine mystery. Why would simple earthworms, creatures known for their solitary burrowing, suddenly engage in such complex collective motion? Initial theories ranged from the plausible to the outlandish. Some biologists suggested the worms were responding to disruptions in the water table, their usual underground habitats flooded and their sensory systems overwhelmed. Others proposed that electromagnetic changes from the storm might have interfered with their primitive navigation. Earthworms are known to orient themselves using subtle magnetic cues, much like migratory birds. A more unsettling hypothesis involved swarming behavior, typically seen in insects or fish but rarely in annelids, possibly triggered by chemical signals or mating instincts. Yet none of these explanations fully accounted for the precision of the spirals, which seemed almost mathematically orchestrated. The phenomenon, while fleeting, sparked new interest in invertebrate collective behavior. Researchers noted that earthworms possess decentralized nervous systems, meaning their coordination would have to emerge from simple individual responses rather than centralized control, a fascinating example of self-organization in nature. Though the worm tornadoes dissipated as quickly as they appeared, they left behind a tantalizing question: how much do we really understand about the hidden complexities of even the humblest creatures? For now, the worm's spiral dance remains an unsolved enigma, a reminder that nature still holds pockets of wonder defying easy explanation. Whether a quirk of hydrology, magnetism, or something stranger, the incident underscores how much lies undiscovered beneath our feet, where the smallest organisms can sometimes stage the most unexpected performances. Shark suicides in captivity. The phenomenon of shark suicides in captivity has long troubled marine biologists and aquarium staff. Unlike most fish, sharks must keep moving to push oxygen-rich water over their gills, a biological imperative known as obligate ram ventilation. Yet in tanks around the world, healthy sharks have been observed sinking to the bottom, refusing to swim, or even ramming their heads into walls until they perish. These incidents, often abrupt and unexplained, reveal a dark side of captivity that science is still struggling to fully comprehend. Initially, experts assumed poor water quality or disease might be to blame, but necropsies frequently showed no physical abnormalities. The breakthrough came when researchers recognized the role of chronic stress. Sharks, as apex predators with vast oceanic territories, are neurologically ill-equipped for confinement. Their hypersensitive electroreceptors, used to detect prey in open water, become overwhelmed by the artificial currents and electrical noise of aquarium equipment. This sensory bombardment may induce a kind of neurological shutdown, akin to extreme PTSD in mammals. Some species, like great whites, fare so poorly that no aquarium has managed to keep them alive long-term. The ethical and scientific implications forced a reckoning in marine exhibition practices. Modern shark tanks now prioritize larger, circular enclosures with controlled currents that mimic natural swimming patterns. Barriers are designed to minimize disorienting reflections, and lighting replicates day-night cycles. Some facilities have abandoned certain species altogether, recognizing that no tank can replicate the mental needs of an animal evolved to roam thousands of miles. While these changes have reduced incidents, the core mystery remains. We still don't fully understand why some individuals succumb while others adapt. What's clear is that these suicides aren't acts of despair in a human sense, but rather tragic evidence of an organism pushed beyond its evolutionary limits. The phenomenon serves as a sobering reminder that some wild creatures, no matter how carefully housed, resist domestication on a fundamental biological level. As research continues, each case underscores the delicate line between conservation education and animal welfare, challenging us to redefine what ethical captivity really means. That's it for today. When animals started acting strange and science panicked is more than a list of curiosities. It's a window into how interconnected, fragile, and mysterious our ecosystem truly is. It's a call to pay attention when nature acts out, because it might be warning us before it's too late.